Hi guys. I'm in someone else's house, obviously. I'm actually in the Jaded Gamercast studio, or half studio. This is Lang's basement. We're up for the weekend, so I'm here, and I thought, well, there's a lot of chatter about the topic I'm talking about today, and that is the suggested, I'm going to emphasize that, tournament format from Wizkids for Star Trek Attack Wing. And someone asked me on Twitter what I thought about it, and I mean, so I'm gonna kind of preface this by saying I'm invested in the game in a lot of ways. I'm invested in the game as a player. I love the game. I'm invested in the game as a fan of the universe because I love Star Trek, obviously. I'm invested in the game as a tournament organizer as well. I am a TO, and I'm not just talking about like being a TO as like I run events at my store. I do, but I have been a tournament organizer for years now. I used to run events for Warhammer 40,000, so I'm not new to running events and understanding the mechanics and the machinations of what an event entails. And I kind of wanted to talk about this topic and give it some context because we have to look at what this whole thing is. Before I get started though, I'm gonna say, because people have accused me of all sorts of things in the past. I've been called a GW apologist because, you know, I say, hey, you know, they're a company, they're out to make money. That's not a bad thing. You know, if you want more stuff from them, buy the stuff that you want them to keep making and don't buy the stuff that you don't. You know, and they will respond to market conditions. I believe in capitalism. I believe in market conditions correcting. So that's kind of the thing. I believe that when Wizkids puts out this suggested format, it is not Wizkids saying, you need to play this game this way always. This is the way the game should be played. It's in this particular context, at this particular, you know, when we're giving away prizes or, you know, here are tools, TOs, you can use to make the experience for your players more, you know, fun or easy or casual or accessible. Now, it's up to the TO, such as myself, to adapt that or not and communicate that to anyone who registers. So the way we run our Attack Wing events here, the ones that I run, and I have friends who run events as well in Edmonton here, 3 hours away from where I live, otherwise I'd be attending them. But if we're going to talk about those kinds of things, the way we handle that sort of stuff is very club environment. Like the environment we've kind of brought Star Trek Attack Wing into when I started running the collective OP was for people who really haven't played a lot of Star Trek Attack Wing. Most, like 8 of my 10 players did not play in the Dominion Wars OP event. So you have a really neophyte kind of system, and I made adjustments in the requirements, and I made adjustments in my event kind of structure to accommodate for the novelty of the game. And that works for me, and that works for my environment. And everyone who kind of signed on, they registered for the entire OP event. So we didn't like pick up players as the weeks went on. We just said, okay, you want to play in this tournament? It runs 3 months, and you come once a month. We play games, and this is how it's going to work. And it made the environment a little more casual. You knew who you were playing. You kind of already knew who the top dog was, but it didn't really matter because everyone was having fun. And that's okay. I think that in that environment, nobody was chasing the prizes. Nobody was doing any of that stuff. People might have been chasing certain boosters and trading and trying to figure out a way to get the one they wanted. And I think that was a more interesting element to it than chasing the prize ship. But that worked for me, and I want to make it clear that Wizkids, in the way they presented this suggested format, made it very clear that these are tools. These are empowerments to TOs. And it's not like you must play this way always. The way they choose to run their regionals and that sort of thing is on them, right? The way they choose to run their nationals is on them. And that's kind of interesting to me because I'd like to see, as a tournament organizer, I'm interested to see how they approach this game, because I look at Star Trek Attack Wing as a game that's kind of got like this dual personality. It's very fan-oriented. The design of the game is is true to the fiction of the game, if you will, the universe, true to the universe, and as a fan, that's why I love it. But part of that fiction, the reason why you have game balance issues is because the fiction is not balanced. And so trying to create a competitive environment using unbalanced fiction, which then translates into unbalanced rules in a living rulebook system where new waves come out and can change the meta substantially, and that's normal. We play a living rule system, guys. That, to me, is interesting. And I, as a tournament organizer, I'm interested to see how they work it to make it function. But I don't think that, you know, the way that you play this game, and the way that Wizkids tells you to play this game have to be related necessarily. So the OP events I organize are faction pure for the fleet, with the exception of the booster when we actually started using them, because that was the other thing. We didn't require boosters. You had the option to do that. But if you didn't, that's fine too. You build your 120-point list or whatever and just play. But they were faction pure so that people didn't have to feel like they had to chase everything, trying to get the right one card or whatever. It just made it more accessible. And that worked for us. So, I don't know. I think I've said it worked for me. This is what works for me. And over and over and over again, because what works for me does not work for you. And what works for me in my setting, in where I play my games, may not work, like, even in this basement where we play games here. The setting is different, the attitudes are different, the skill level of players are different, the needs of the venue are different, right? If you have a venue that can sustain 20 players playing this OP event, it could be very different than one that sustains 10. If you have a very strong community of like competitive gamers, your structure may be very different than one that is fan-oriented. A strong community of guys who get together, play the game, watch a couple of movies or a couple of the episodes, and yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We want to have that diversity of interest, a diversity of love in the game, because then it has a wider appeal. That's indicative of the success of the game, not a failure. So people who complain about suggested tournament formats, check yourselves, okay? Because it's suggested. And if you do not want to play by those rules, tell your TO. Because your TO can and does have the power to be responsive to their region. At the same time, if you find yourself in the minority, maybe, just maybe, I'm gonna suggest you become a community champion of your own. Run the event that you want to play in. It was one of those things that came to me when I started running 40K events, and now, you know, obviously Star Trek Attack events. I want to play in an event that I'm proud of. If there's a certain way I want to play the game, I should advocate for that way. I should champion for that way. I should play the game that way. And if you want to champion for a specific type of structure, run it yourself, because then people can buy into that. People who are interested in that type of play can jump on your bandwagon with you and go. It's totally okay, and we want that. We want that diversity, because the more options, the more ways there are to play, the more diverse the ways to consume this game is, the more people who will play it, the more this game will have a sustaining fan base, the more waves we'll get, the more ships we'll get, the better it is overall. So if you love this game, you know, champion for it. And that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that as players of this game, we are all diplomats for this game. If we want to be champions for this game, we have to be able to be respectful of each other and of non-players, and we have to be respectful of differing opinions, and we have to be a community who recognizes that we can all be different. We don't have to agree with each other. We don't have to all be right. You know, we can just be right where we are. And I think that's okay too. So yeah, that's what I think about the suggested tournament structure. I personally think that there are elements in there I'm going to totally cherry pick, and there are some things that I'm going to leave behind because it won't work for the meta that we're going to play in, and that I'm playing in, and that I'm kind of championing for. And that's just the way it's going to go. If you have a specific opinion, let me know in the comments below. Please be respectful. Of course, but I feel like that's kind of I don't even need to tell you guys that because you guys are really awesome anyways in the comments. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what kinds of things you want to see in your meta. If you want to foster competitive play, great. Let me know what you're doing to do that. Personally, I'm obviously all for in-universe narrative play. So what we're doing is we're working on creating like a campaign-style event that people come to in our gaming month. We co-opt certain elements of the scenarios for the OP events, but at the same time, everyone kind of already pre-bought in. We, we're saying, oh, this is Resistance is Feudal, buy in now. Everyone kind of buys in, and we're all in it together. And as a result, everyone kind of has a voice. It's remarkably democratic, actually, for how we run things, and that way we kind of optimize for fun. So, yeah, that's all. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.